Hello, my friend. Welcome to live chat. First time I clicked on the go live button, it gave me an error, and I was like, oh, okay. But then the second time worked. So we're good. Hello, welcome to live chat. I had a lot of fun decluttering with you all, and I'm excited to kind of be back to having more of a conversation. I felt like it was kind of like in the declutters, like we had some conversation, but it's going to be interesting to talk to you all about this one. So I started posting on TikTok for like consistently for the first time. Like I know I'm like super late to the game. I'm like 5 years late, but I just started finally posting on TikTok consistently. And I put up the story about Primally Pure, which is the sunscreen company, is the skincare company. And it's all beef tallow based. It's all very crunchy. It's all very like everything's going to give you cancer except for the sun. you know it's all very that. So there was a company called Ultraviolet that is out of Australia is really big on their sunscreen. Like they drill it into their kids from very, very young. Slip slap slop. It's beyond sunscreen. You want to wear your sunscreen, but you also want to put on a hat. You also want to wear protective clothing. You also want to stay out of the sun at peak hours. Like it's like drilled into their heads, unlike here in the US, where at least when I was a kid, we like put on baby oil so that we could get more tan. And I remember my dad saying to me, and I learned possibly why this was true, that after we were out at the beach in the summer in the sunshine, we were supposed to take cold showers because it would make the tan better, like it would make the tan deeper. We didn't, I mean, anyway, we had SPF 6 in our little cabinet at that we have like a trailer on Chincoteague Island. And we had like a little like tiny closet. And in that closet, I think the highest SPF we had was 6. We might have had a 15, maybe, but I don't understand why we would have bought that. Because that was for before you got your base tan, right? And eventually we worked our way up to baby oil anyway. My point is that cultures are different when it comes to sunscreen, and Australia is really big on their sunscreen. That's my point. So Ultraviolet came out hard against Primally Pure, and I made a post about that on TikTok. Well, couple days later, there's a company called Choice, which I believe is like a consumer reports thing in Australia, and they test all kinds of stuff. So they tested all these different sunscreens, and they tested them to see. They did like a double blind test, and they, tested to see if these sunscreens were actually the SPF that they advertise. And they found out that the ultraviolet sunscreen was only an SPF 4. And people came to my comment section on TikTok on the Ultraviolet clapping back at Primally Pure, and they're like, well, it would be fine if Ultraviolet actually had effective sunscreen that wasn't an SPF 4 when they say it's an SPF 50. And I was like, what is happening? So I looked on Instagram, and I found both from Ultraviolet and from Choice, they put up statements about the situation. So what I want to do today is I want to share with you what those statements are, what's happening over there, and what that means for just sunscreen testing in general, and how we can know, what sunscreen is going to be good or not, where the tests fail, where the tests do well, because in the end, it's our health. It's so important that we have, when we want to put on a good sunscreen, that it actually works. So this is just a really confusing situation, and I just want to kind of put it all out there. I am not a cosmetic chemist. I'm not a professional in sunscreen science. If you want more of that, go over to Michelle over at Lab Muffin Beauty Science. There's a bunch of people talking about it right now on Instagram and TikTok that are actual professionals. So definitely get that. Today, I'm just going to go over what both sides are saying and then have a discussion about it. So that's what we're going to do. Before we do, I do want to quickly say hello to the people that are here live in the collective brain of makeup awesomeness. They're going to be helping with this conversation. So we have Teresa, our lovely moderator, Teresa, and Flory and Steph and Audra. Thank you for being our moderator team. I appreciate you. Teresa says hello and welcome to live chat. Hope you all are doing well. I hope you're doing well, Teresa. Hopefully it's nice and cool where you're at. Tish, good morning to you, my friend. Hope that you are well. Hello, Christine. Good morning. I'm good. How are you? And my friend Tom is here. We caught up last Monday finally because I missed our Tom Tuesdays where we talk and chat about things. Definitely go over and check out Tom's YouTube channel if you're looking for stellar makeup reviews, the old stuff, new stuff. Critical Sass is the new makeup releases video over on Tom's channel. I highly recommend. Just very fun. The way we want makeup to be is just really fun and just the joy of makeup. And that's what happens over on Tom's channel. Again, it's Hope Mess Tom. Go check them out. Yes, thank you, Tom, for being here. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. Daniel, good morning to you. Another hot and humid day in H-Town. Thank you for being here. Hello, Liz. Good morning. Hello, Miss Lavender. And Anna, good morning. Happy Sunday. Glad to catch live while on holiday. Ooh, how lovely for you. I love that. Speaking of holidays, this is Father's Day here in the U.S. We're celebrating with my husband after live chat this morning. He's out riding his bike, living his best life before it starts raining here. But if you celebrate Father's Day, happy Father's Day to you. If Father's Day is a difficult day for you, just know I'm thinking about you and sending you the biggest hugs, because I know Father's Day can be a really difficult day for a lot of people. Liz says, I'm so glad I'm finally made it to the live. I'm so happy back to the live. I'm happy that you're here as well. Thank you for being here. Dolphins girl, good morning. Happy Father's Day to John and all the other dads in the collective brain. Also happy post No King's Day. Proud of my fellow Americans who peacefully protested around the country yesterday. Yes. I was watching it all go down. I was actually down in DC the night before on Saturday. My husband and I went to the Josh Johnson comedy show down at the Warner Theater. And if you do not know Josh Johnson, I am a huge fan and a stan. And I was like, oh my gosh, he is right there. Like, there are certain people that I fangirl over. And Josh Johnson is one of them. Like, to be so like young and so just polished. Like, I just and he rewrites his show like every night. Like, it's wild. Like, I can't wrap my brain around how he does what he does. But anyway, we went down to the Warner Theater and we rode the metro down, and I'm looking for red hats everywhere. I was like, I want to know how many people are down here for this event. I'm wondering if the train's going to be full. There's going to be a bunch of tourists walking around. Like, and this was before it started raining. So I'm looking around. I didn't see a single person that looked like they were there for the event. And I'm walking around. I'm looking. I didn't see anybody. We're literally an 8-minute walk from the White House. Didn't see a single person that looked like they were like wearing merch. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, what? That's so weird. And then when we were on our way back, I saw one man who was wearing a hat that said retired Army on it. And he looked like he was with his wife, and he looked like a tourist. He had like a wide-eyed, like excited look in his eyes. And that was literally the only person that I saw that looked like they were going to the event. And I was like, this is weird. Because I would have thought I would have seen more people, but didn't see anybody. By the way, the Josh Johnson Flowers show was very good. I wish that he had talked a little bit more about the parade, but he went and talked about the riots in LA, which is also very, very new and important to talk about. So, but yeah, it was a great show. He sold out 5 shows. And that theater is beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go down to the Warner Theater, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's incredible. Just, ugh. Yes, I was down in DC. I live here. I live in Maryland. So yes, Jan, I was in DC. DC is not that far from me. Like, if I want to drive down there, it'll probably take me about, I don't know, depending on what part, like between half an hour and an hour, depending on the part, the traffic and all of that. So, but yes. I was not down there last night though, but my kid was down there. I know I'm off topic. My kid was down not too far from there with my husband. They went to a show last night. Where did they go see? Alison Pontier, I think is what her name is. Down what you call it? Oh, you live here too. Hi, neighbor. Down kind of by 930 Club. It's called Atlantis. It's a little tiny small club, but they had a great time. So they were down there, but they weren't anywhere near like the madness. They were off to the east of that. So hi, Maryland people. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Let's go into what happened. So it started with this. So this is the test that they published. 16 out of 20 sunscreens didn't meet SPF claims in the choice test. The lowest scoring was the ultraviolet lean screen SPF 50 plus mattifying zinc returned an SPF of 4. And it says see the full test results at choice.com.australia if you want to see it. But they also tested Neutrogena, the Cancer Council Ultra Sunscreen, Aldi. I didn't know they had Aldi in Australia. Because I think this is basically, look at my hand just flying out here. Like it's just, whoop, whoop. Okay, sorry. Bondi Sands, Woolworths, Cancer Council, and Banana Boat. And they had more results than this. There were more pages of it if you want to go to their Instagram and see more. Actually, here, I think I captured it. Yeah, so here's the rest of them. And then the ones that actually tested the 50 were down low. And one thing I'm very curious about is what the ingredient deck is on these ones that, did like really well, and if they had a lot of zinc oxide in there, because that's where ultraviolet says the issue is. But I did not look into that because I didn't think of it until just this moment. But these are the ones that measured well. So of course ultraviolet started getting a bunch of backlash, and they're freaking out because they are a sunscreen brand, and it's like, that's what they do, is they make sunscreen. And how could it possibly be that their SPF tested at a 4? So the owner was very upset. This is one of the founders and owners of Ultraviolet. And she went on Instagram, and we're going to watch her video real quick about it. And I just realized that I think I may do this a different way because I don't think I can pause it. Let me see. Yes. Okay, we're going to do this a different way because I think that I can pause it.
I've seen all of.
Okay, this is the way we're going to do it because that way, no. Why do I have to be so small? Hold on a second. There we go. That's what I wanted to see, because the other way I loaded it, you can't pause it. So we can talk about what she's saying as she's saying it, because this is so critically important to our health, and we need to understand how all this works. So remember, she sells the sunscreen, so there is going to be a bias there. She's trying to save her brand, but also she really seems to care about this stuff. So all right, here we go.
The press about the choice testing, and I guess I just wanted to give you a bit of an understanding of what's happened, how this could happen, why we're disputing these claims. I guess my concern with this whole thing is that people now no longer trust any sunscreen. It's not just about us. It's just about, knowing that the consumer can trust the sunscreens that they're wearing. And this will mean nothing to you, but, I also put lean screen on my children, and I still would tomorrow.
So she's talking about how, like, and I it's so hard to watch this because it's like you see someone's brand like getting wrecked by this test, and she's like, but it works. I put it on my own kids. It works. I know that it works. So what is happening?
We have now done 3 tests on this product. We have done 2 to ISO/Australian standards and 1 to FDA standards. So first of all, Choice came to us in March of this year. We've tested your sunscreen and it's come in at a 5. We saw that. We obviously freaked out, took it very seriously immediately. We've got our in-house regs, we've got in-house MPD, and obviously Beck and I as founders. The thing we did was check the stability of the formula. Because we knew where Choice had purchased the product from, they sent us the receipt. We knew what batch number it was. We had the retains in our MPD cupboard, and we went and checked it to check the stability. There was an issue with the product had separated, because that's sometimes how these things can occur. So we checked.
So they found out about it, and they tried to be like, okay, this is not right. This is not okay. What happened? And they're actively trying to figure out what happened behind the scenes because they know that they've tested the sunscreen. Because what she's saying as far as Australia goes is that you have to have rigorous tests of sunscreen before you can put it on the market by independent labs that prove that your sunscreen is the SPF you say it is. And they went through that. So how did it get through the labs that Ultraviolet used in order to do this testing, but then didn't get through the choice test? That's where the breakdown is, and that's where things got really confusing. There's a great question here. Vegan Brie wanted to know, have I ever done a sunscreen wear test? I've seen other YouTubers do tests to see if they burned. The SPF tests, there's SPF tests almost like those zit patches. I have not. I feel like that's above my skill level and my ability to, like, because that's so important. Like, I would be scared to be an authority on that. Even like, it's one thing to test the wear of like an eyeshadow, but sunscreen I feel like is beyond what I can personally do. Like, that would freak me out. I don't feel like I want to hold that kind of responsibility. Like, lots of props to people who do, but that would freak me out. Okay. Oh, wait, this was the one Melissa was trying. She may be a brand owner, but us Australians take sunscreen very seriously. It's drilled in us from a young age. Our TGA guidelines are ridiculously strict. Exactly, Melissa. Exactly. Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much. All right. And yes, she is very proactive about it. She does seem to genuinely care. Absolutely. And Jennifer says, I love the Trader Joe's sunscreen. Works well under makeup of my oily combo skin. It's so hard to find a good sunscreen, isn't it? So hard. Yes, Tom says talking about sunscreen as a creator is hard and kind of scary. Exactly. I am with you, Tom. I think that it's beyond what I feel comfortable reviewing because it's so important.
That the SPF, the zinc levels in the product were, as we have put on the packaging, which was 22.75% zinc. That is almost a quarter of the formulation is zinc. And they were within spec. So there was no issue from a manufacturing point of view. There was no issue from a stability point of view. The next thing we did, which is all happening kind of within the same hour, was organise an urgent SPF test of a 10-panel study at an independent third-party lab. Sorry, an SPF.
So 10 panel means they're testing 10 participants at a third-party SPF lab. So someone that they're not associated with, they don't know these people. Like, there's no like reason for them. There's no connection between them. Like, get 10 people right now and let's test this on 10 people. And the way that they do it is they have like a special light. I wish that let me see if I can find a screenshot real quick. The way they do these sunscreen tests, it's actually pretty fascinating. Let me see. Oh, that's an informal one where a guy's got like a, okay, so I can't find it, but basically what they do is they have a UV light that they shine, like they take a bare back, let's say, and they put the UV light on the person's back, right? And they have these circles and they put sunscreen, the correct amount of sunscreen on each circle, right? And they maybe have different sunscreens and they see how long it takes for the skin to burn. And that's the test, is they turn on the light, they shine it on the back, they turn off the light, they look and see the amount of redness or whatever, and they decide when is burnt. So that's the subjective part, is when is burnt. I don't know if they have some kind of like card to show, because everybody's skin tone is different too. So I feel like this would be important to do on people of different skin tones, because different people burn at different rates. You know, it's so tricky, right? It's so tricky. So that's how they do it. So that's what she was doing is she went to this independent lab and they're testing it immediately on 10 people.
The test requires 10 humans to be tested on. Lab Muffin has done a great video on the SPF testing process. They test a specific amount on human skin. They burn them with a UV light without the sunscreen, and then they burn them again with the sunscreen, and how long it takes for them to burn is how the SPF rating is given. It is what Australia and the rest of the world currently accepts as an SPF, as SPF results, and that is what the TGA requires. To get an SPF 50 plus, you need an SPF of over 60. You need to get the results to come in at over 60. It is a listed product. It is a medicine. You need to have all this documentation to hand to the TGA before you get what is called an OSTL number, and you'll see that on the front of all of our packaging because we are Primary Sunscreen. That number requires testing from an approved ISO accredited lab, and they exist all over the world. We got the results back after 6 weeks. They were consistent with our original test. The original test was 64 and our second test was 61.7.
So 64 and 61.7, they marketed it as an SPF 50, but Choice found it was an SPF 4. So what happened? How is that even possible? She's going to get into it.
So we sent the second test results to Choice. And just the other thing to note is that we sent a product from the exact same batch that Choice had sent to be tested. What we do know.
So they took their sunscreen. They know the batch that Choice had. They have 2 bottles. They send one over for testing. Everything comes out good. They take the other bottle that's from the same batch and send it to Choice and say, this is fine. Maybe it's just the bottle you had. This one is from the same batch and it's fine.
That Choice is, they're not a regulator. They are not the ACCC. They are not the TGA. They are not the ones who approve sunscreens. So we now have 3 SPF tests done on 30 people that show where we've got a consistent result within 1 point of each other, 1 or 2 points of each other, at an over 60. Choice did 1 test and it scored a result of 5. That was absolutely shocking to us. Choice then did a second test. We were all confused as to how this number, the difference in the number was so wide. Not a full SPF panel, they did it on 5 people. A 5-person SPF test will not allow you to launch a product into Australia.
So our first criticism is that they tested it. The first test that they were going to say they're going to use this as their results was tested on 5 people. And that's it. And 5 people. And she's saying that in order to launch SPF, you have to test it on 30 people. But Choice had only tested it on 5. So that's her first hole that she's finding in this testing.
You needed full 10-person panel tests. Of the 5 people...
Okay, so she's saying, oh, shoot. Hopefully I can find my spot again. I accidentally clicked back and said, okay, so she's saying you need at least 10. They used 5. I thought it was 30, but it's 10. I want to make sure I'm accurate.
Choice then did a second test. We were all confused as to how this number, the difference in the number was so wide. Not a full SPF panel, they did it on 5 people. A 5-person SPF test will not allow you to launch a product into Australia. You needed full 10-person panel tests. Of the 5 people, 2 were outside the kind of variability scope. So there were 2 people of that 5-person test that, because the numbers were outside, they could not be counted. So effectively that 5-person panel test became a 3-person panel test, bringing Choice's testing panel to a total of 13 and ours to 30. I don't know if that's going to give anyone confidence. It definitely made us feel confident in the protection of our products. The third thing I will say is zinc sunscreens are very tricky. Zincs are very easy to destabilize. You can never, especially a zinc, you should never decant the product. So that's why
decanting, I know not everyone is English as a first language person. Decanting just means taking the product and putting it into another container. It would no longer be in their packaging. It would be in another jar. And the reason why Choice did this was because they wanted it to be a blind test. They didn't want there to be any bias there from the people who were testing. So they took the sunscreen and they squeezed it into another container and then pass it to the tester. They knew, it might say lab sample A or whatever. They knew which one was which, but the people testing did not. And the only way to do that was to take it out of the original packaging. That's what she's talking about, is that's what Choice did, was taking it out of the original packaging, decanting it.
We never recommend you pumping your sunscreen into a travel container or, putting it into something that's more portable. Like, we do not recommend you decant the product that you have bought into a different container. We know that Choice decanted our product because they told us. They decanted it into a different packaging that it has not been tested in. So the other thing that sunscreens have to do is go through a long stability process, about 6 months, depending on the country. We had our...
Okay, before we do this, I just saw this comment by Tom. How much do they pay these people to sunburn them? I thought the same thing. Like, that doesn't sound like fun. Like, hopefully they got paid well. I hope so. Good point.
Lean screen, sitting in stability testing for 6 months in the exact same tube that we sell it in, for 6 months, in the same material for 6 months before we were launching it. They did send it in an unlabeled container that was not the packaging that it had been stability tested in. One of the labs was in Germany. I don't know what happened on the journey to that lab. I don't know whether it was in extreme temperatures.
Okay, so that's something that I didn't catch the first time I watched this, was that they decanted it and then they sent it to the lab. So to go from Australia to Germany, which was where they did their second test, what happens on the as it's in this little this like decanted container? What happens on the journey? That's a really good point. I missed that the first time.
Eating or otherwise. I don't know how long it took to get there. I don't know what happened. Of all of the products on that list, the ones that fared the worst were mineral sunscreens. I don't know how any of them were sent in other labs. I don't know. So let's just talk about that for a second, because I do think that's important. The level of zinc in Lean Screen is 22.75%. That is almost a quarter of the formula being zinc. All I'm just trying to communicate here is the rigor in which we test our products. Generally, how complicated this world really is. We take this incredibly seriously. We are a sunscreen brand. We live and die by what we put in the market. And we, as founders, Beck and I, are so across the formulating, the testing, the regulatory rigor, the process behind how we bring a sunscreen to market. So please know that we are taking this so seriously. We are continuing to investigate this matter to understand how this could have happened and how the results are so different.
Okay, so Tiffany has an excellent point. Tiffany says other sunscreens are decanted and still have an high SPF. I think that what she's saying, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, I think what she's saying is that the ones that did the worst were the ones that were mineral sunscreens that had the high zinc content. So I think what she's saying, without saying it out like in these words, is that when you decant zinc into a container and put it in that container and ship it across the world, that can be compromised as far as the formula goes, that the zinc won't be as may not be as effective when it gets to the lab in Germany or when it gets to wherever the other lab was. And that maybe, and I don't know this for sure because I didn't look at it, because I didn't think about it until we started chat, was that the ones that were the best were the more chemical sunscreens, the ones that may have had like avobenzone, oxybenzone, like stuff like that as the main ingredient, that maybe that was better decanted. Like maybe those ingredients were more stable in that decanted state. And that's why they fared better in the test, is because of whatever the ratio of ingredients were. Because I'd be very curious, because this is such a good point, Tiffany. I would be very curious, though, the amount of zinc oxide in the sunscreens that were tested. Does it go, when we go back to, let me go back to my photo for this, is this one at the top? Wait, which way am I pointing? No, this way. Sorry, it's backwards. Is this one the one with the highest zinc oxide? Do these also have zinc oxide? Do these have zinc oxide mixed with other things? You know what I mean? Are these mineral? Like what is that a good theory? I don't know. But Tiffany, that's an excellent point. That's a really, really good point. Yes. Okay. So Stormy Weather is saying the same thing. The choice is like Consumer Reports of Australia. That's what I thought. And a lot of people trust them. So that's why this is such a serious thing and why so many people are so upset.
Our hypothesis is there are a lot of uncontrollables in the way Choice tested our product. What we do know is that we were able to control how we sent our product. The lab, which is a very reputable lab, many brands use this lab. They are ISO accredited, they are FDA accredited. I'm going to be very transparent with you, and that's why I'm giving you this kind of overview of how a sunscreen kind of comes to market in the background, before you kind of see the fun and marketing, and just know we are never trying to mislead someone or sell you a product that doesn't work. We stand behind the tests we've done. We stand behind the information that we have provided to the TGA. We will comply in any way with them as needed to make sure that this is ironed out. All that to say is there is a lot of nuance to SPF testing. We have the data to support the testing results. It is on our website. Choice has also published their data. That's fine. There are two very different numbers. We are as baffled as you why those numbers are so different. All we know is that we have complied with the TGA. We have done additional testing once we heard about this issue, and we are continue to work through with our manufacturer, our testers.
Okay, and that's where it cuts off, which is kind of a strange spot to cut off, maybe because it was maybe because that's where she ran out of time for the 10 minutes or something like that. I don't know, but that's where it cuts off. Before I get into Choice's response to that, Sandra, thank you so much for joining the Collective Brain Elite. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for becoming a member. And then Manders wanted to know, genuine question, is it common knowledge not to decant mineral-based sunscreens and cosmetics? I don't think so. I have personally heard it before, but I think it's because I have looked up this stuff. Like, I have made an active choice to look up this stuff. And if I didn't have this as a job, I absolutely wouldn't know that. Like, there's no way I would know that if this was not my job. So I don't think that that's a common knowledge thing. But I remember going on a trip and looking to see, because I usually decant my shampoo and conditioner, which is fine, body wash, all of that. I have the little travel containers. And I remember thinking oh, I remember hearing somewhere I shouldn't do that with sunscreen, because of course I just had a really big sunscreen and I wanted to bring a smaller one. And I read that, yeah, you should not decant mineral sunscreen. I had heard that before. So Mon says, I don't like the white cast of mineral sunscreen. Me either. But yeah, that's just the way that it is. Sandra says, so it sounds like Choice testing didn't have controls and wasn't conducted under industry recognized testing protocols for consistency. Exactly, Sandra. That's what it sounds like. But I do have Choice's response to this that I definitely want to share with you, because it adds more to the story. It's really interesting. But before we get into that, I do want to quickly tell you what's on my face, because I do that all the time. Actually, I could take these off now that I can and I can hear myself better, because it muffles my hearing of my own speech. So it makes me louder when I have those on. But just really quickly, what's on my face today? This is probably not good anymore. It's old. This is what I have all over my lids. I love this though. I need to just buy another one. This is, hopefully they still make it. This is the Sydney Grace Shade Master Plan. That's what's on my lids today, is this beautiful, purple blue gorgeousness. And then up in the crease, I used the Natasha Denona Ayana palette, Ayana, and just use the natural shades in here, the browns, these 3, 1, 2, 3. And then and then on my cheeks and my lips, I did a PR purchase product of the week this week. But for some reason, when I did the first part of it, when I recorded it, it didn't record the first section. So I had to get rid of it. But I do want to shout this out. These are from Salt, New York. Freaking love Kiki G. They're amazing and fabulous. And I love them with my whole soul. The most fun person. I got to meet Kiki at Creators and Friends, and just, I love them so much. The owner and founder of Salt New York. But this is, Salt New York sent me over a little care package for my birthday, which was the sweetest thing. Totally buttered me up, worked like a charm. But I do really love these, and I don't know why I don't reach for them. This is the Lip and Cheek and Moonlighting Medium. So that's what's on the front of my cheeks. And then on the back, I use the shade Cocoa. This is also a lip and cheek. So I use this on my lips as well. Now on my lips, I feel like the lasting power is not fabulous on the lips, but on the cheeks, I feel like it lasts a lot better. It does, however, make the most beautiful natural lipstick. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I feel like they last a really long time on the cheeks. Just the lips, I feel like I have to reapply more often than a lot of lipsticks out there, but they're really wonderful. Their sneaky balms are really good. This is my my shade of foundation and my shade of concealer. I can tell you what. I wish I could have shown you, but I didn't record. So I'm N12 for their concealer, and I think I'm N12 for their foundation too. The Sneaky Balm. Yeah, N12 is the hydrating skin tint. If you like that balmy look, if you like a dewy look, I highly recommend. And then they sell these cute little travel containers to put your your product in, so you can have a little customized palette, which is really nice. So yeah, so that is what is on my face today that I wanted to mention. And then also just to let you know, the eyeshadow for today for What's Been Makeup was the Angela Bright and Sigma palette. This was sent in PR. I think I can't remember where I got this to be 100%, but I know I purchased the Sydney Grace liquid shadow, and the Salt New York stuff is PR. I like to tell you. So yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the response from Choice. So they have, oh, this right here was the caption on her video. It reads, oh my gosh, that's so big. I know this one's long, but we want to make sure you all have the information you need. We understand that Choice's claims may have shaken your trust, and we're here to reassure you, but please watch this through for a more in-depth explanation. We have our third-party test and retest results on our website in full. In this, we explain how we responded when we heard Choice's claims, how the test could be so different, and the team and I are here to answer your questions. This is not the time to run away from our own brand. We take this seriously, and we have a very strong regulated market. We're here to listen, to reassure you, and to hear your concerns. So that was the caption on the owner's video. And let's talk about, this was their Choice's first comment. And this is how they talked about how they test the sunscreen. So they have the panel of 10 adult volunteers selected. Volunteers must have skin types that show sunburning reactions and not have any sensitivities to the product's ingredients. So I'm assuming they mean they don't accept brown people. That's what I'm thinking. I'm guessing because then they can see the burning, I guess. But then what about the brown people? Don't they need to know too? I'm just saying. That doesn't sound very right to me. Because the brown people need to know too. Is that what that says? I think that's what it says. Okay. A very precise measurement, 2 milligrams of sunscreen per centimeter square of skin of the product is applied to a marked out area of skin. The lab uses a calibrated solar stimulator that has been specifically designed to imitate the spectrum of sunlight. Around 24 hours after exposure, the results are recorded. The lab determines how much UV exposure in seconds is needed for someone to start burning without sunscreen. So I guess each like section has a longer period of time on it because it does take a while for sunburn to show up. So I guess what they would do is each section would be like, maybe put this one on for, an hour. This one's for 2 hours. This one's for 3 hours. This one's for 4 hours or whatever. I guess. I don't know. I could be wrong there. So that was what they put up next. And then they put up a video. So let's watch the video. It is 1 minute and 10 seconds long. Put my headphones back on. This is the Choice video.
Hello, my name is Mark Searles from Choice, and I'm here to talk about sunscreens. In front of me right now, I've got 20 sunscreens, all of which we've tested, and the news is not great. Out of the 20 sunscreens here in front of me, only 4 actually met their SPF claims, which is not ideal. One in particular, the ultraviolet lean screen, claims it has an SPF of 50 plus, but we tested it at an SPF of 4. Which is not ideal. You could lather yourself in coconut oil and get more protection than you will from this. That being said, it's really important to note that any sunscreen is better than no sunscreen. I've actually got this one at home right now. I use it every day of summer because I'm ginger and I get sunburnt easily, and I plan to use that until it runs out. And that should be your strategy as well. Like we always say here at Choice, any sunscreen is better than no sunscreen. That being said, we are now calling for more stringent testing of sunscreens here in Australia. We want to make sure that you guys and girls get the protection that you pay for. So if you want to find out more, head to choice.com.au and check it out. Cheers.
That is my first time watching that. That was a live react. Why would he say you might as well slather yourself in coconut oil and you'll get the same protection as an SPF 4? That is just wrong. That just straight up says he doesn't understand how sunscreen works, like what an SPF actually is. Like, that is wild that he would say that. And then he's like, yeah, what? I wish I had put it on the other thing so that I could have reacted to it live. But that was terrible. And then he was like, yeah, it's better than no sunscreen at all. Well, coconut oil is not better than no sunscreen at all. Why would he say that? They should have cut that out. Like, it's okay if that's an edited video. They should have cut that comment out. And then he goes on and says, well, I'm going to keep using it on my family. Well, why would you do that if it doesn't work? There are oh my gosh, that video is terrible. Am I overreacting? What are the comments on this? Huh? Why did he just confuse me? Me too. Six Cebu. That was very clear. This one good, this one bad. Right. That was like I didn't know it was gonna be like that. Grace says, Aussie here and so happy you're covering the sunscreen story. Love your work, Jen. I'm so happy you're here. That blows my mind that he was like, oh, it's like putting coconut oil on, but yeah, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to use this one. I trust it. Like, what? How does that make any dang sense? I feel like I want to watch it again. Is that terrible that I want to watch it again? Will y'all put up with me if I watch it? Because I'm going to pause it. Because I need to hear that.
From Choice, and
Hold
I'm
on.
here
Wait,
to talk
stop. Okay, all right. I want to watch this again. Because I just want to make sure I heard what I think I heard.
Sunscreens. In front of me right now, I've got 20 sunscreens, all of which we've tested, and the news is not great. Out of the 20 sunscreens here in front of me, only 4 actually met their SPF claims, which is not ideal. One in particular, the ultraviolet lean screen, claims it has an SPF of 50 plus, but we tested it at an SPF of 4, which is not ideal. You could lather yourself in coconut oil and get more protection than.
What is this man? He said that out loud and they kept it in the video. I am just floored.
And you will from this. That being said, it's really important to note that any sunscreen is better than no sunscreen.
Didn't he just say coconut oil is better than an SPF 4?
I've actually got this one at home right now. I use it every day of summer because I'm ginger and I get sunburnt easily.
So it is a different sunscreen that he says he has at home. It's not the same one, but it's the same brand. But he's had good experience with that one, I guess is what he's saying.
And I plan to use that until it runs out. And that should be your strategy as well. Like we always say here at Choice, any sunscreen is better than no sunscreen. That being said, we are now calling for more stringent testing of.
So the people at Choice did their own testing. I don't know but they did say, I think they sent it to an independent lab, but maybe they told the lab to test it in a certain way. I'm assuming like it was definitely different than the way that it was tested through the government. But they're going to call on more stringent sunscreen testing?
Sunscreens.
Because this guy who says coconut oil is better than sunscreen knows better than the Australian government? Are you kidding me right now? I did not expect to get this heated. I did not expect this.
Here in Australia, we want to make sure that you guys and girls get the protection that you pay for. So if you want to find out more, head to choice.com.au and check it out. Cheers.
Cheers. What? Jamie says, I don't understand why he didn't say which one's passed. That's why I'd be watching the dang video. I think the coconut oil thing was a poorly chosen joke. I think it was too. But the fact that he flip-flopped on it, like, I think you're right, Jamie. Maybe I'm just taking it a little too seriously, that it was just a poorly worded joke and I'm taking it too seriously. You could be totally right. But yeah, I mean, it seemed, because this was a response to the backlash about ultraviolet. So that's why this exists, is because this came after ultraviolet was like, wait a minute. But yeah, if you're on the Choice Instagram, you would want to know about all of them, not just the ultraviolet one, but they're in defense mode at this point. That's a really good point, Jamie. That's a really, really good point. Yes, Teresa, ultraviolet goes through stringent testing already in order to sell in Australia. I think what Choice is saying is that maybe their testing is better than the government's testing. The government needs to look at their testing methods to make sure that it's just as good as what Choice did. Jen says, Jen, I think I see your eye twitching. You might have seen that. That's definitely possible. All right, let's go into the other things that Choice put up because there's other responses. Here's the next one. Take these off. Okay. Because that's the last video. Okay. Sunscreen Q&A. testing is known to not be very precise with lots of things. Example, decanting, storage, transport, potentially affecting the result. Couldn't that explain the Choice results? So they're responding directly to what the owner of Ultraviolet said. Okay. That's the question. SPF tests set out to determine if manufacturers are meeting their SPF claims using the Australia/New Zealand standard, which refers to the international standard. We use the same process that manufacturers use to test their products. It doesn't sound like they did, though. In our test, however, the products underwent blind testing. So then that's not the same. A standard method used to minimize bias and improve viability in scientific research. Yes, that is, doing blind testing is standard in scientific research. Yes, it is. Prior to testing these sunscreens, we received advice from the specialist laboratory and prominent experts in this field on how best to prepare samples for testing in order to ensure the validity of the results. So they're saying that professionals said that this testing method would be fine. And that's why they chose it. The most significant failure of the 20 products we tested was Ultraviolet's lean screen returned SPF of 4. Despite doing rigorous testing of the sunscreen the first time, we were so perturbed by the results that we decided to delay publishing and test a different batch of the Ultraviolet sunscreen at a completely different lab in Germany to confirm the results. Okay, that's another question. So I'm curious what you all think of this. I would like to know. I just have more questions. I would like to know what specialists they talked to and if they considered the whole zinc thing. That's what I would like to know. I'm wondering. I still have questions. I don't know. We received advice from the specialist laboratory and prominent experts in the field. And their advice must have led to the testing methods that they used. Interesting. Okay, here's the next one. Sunscreen Q&A. We'd love to test every sunscreen in the market. We had to narrow down our selection for testing. Oh, the question is, how do you choose which sunscreens to test? They can't test everything. Using retail data and our expertise in buying behavior and consumer trends, we honed in on a selection of sunscreens that included some of the most widely available and commonly bought sunscreens in Australia, as well as brands that are popular with various demographics. Based on this information, we put together a final list for buyers who headed out to the shops or online to buy each product in the same way a regular consumer would. We do this so we can be sure the products we're testing are the same as the products that Australians are buying from supermarket shelves and other retailers. That makes perfect sense. We also ensured that we're buying sunscreens with similar expiration dates in order to get the fairest results possible. That sounds logical and reasonable to me. Because you would want them to be, they're not, basically, I think what they're saying is we don't request them from brands. We don't say, hey, brand, send me a sunscreen so that I can test it. They go out and they purchase it the way that consumers would purchase it, which makes perfect sense. That's logical to me. And then let me go over the comments real quick and make sure I'm not missing anything before we go to the last slide. Fem Dandy says, clearly SPF testing is my key to using my German degree in beauty industry. Who knew? Where's Aaron? Aaron says, I will roast at an SPF 4. There would already be a huge outrage if the SPF was that wrong, much like what happened with Honest Beauty a few years ago. Yes. And exactly. And I was thinking the same thing. And I'm glad you said that because that thought has gone through my head and then gone straight out of it. So I'm really glad that you said that because You would think that there would be a consumer response if it was that different. There would be customers that would be like, this sunscreen does not work. Like, there would be TikToks made, there would be videos made, there would be people that are leaving reviews on the Ultraviolet website. There'll be somebody, because this guy who's pasty white and, a ginger, and he, burns really easily. If this sunscreen was that ineffective, only an SPF 4 and was advertised as an SPF 50, and imagine they're out in the sun for 4 or 5 hours, somebody would have burned, right? Somebody would have realized there's something wrong with this stuff. But to my knowledge, Choice was the one that exposed this, right? That's a great point, Aaron. Sandra says, I'm sorry, but as soon as the guy started talking, I started to side-eye Choice's results. By the time he finished, I dismissed Choice's results. Angela says, I used Ultraviolet all of last summer, didn't get burnt. Right. So that's like, and the thing is that over on my TikTok, where people are watching my TikTok, a lot of people are commenting that they trust the Choice results. And that's where this is a problem, because they have such a reputation for consumer reports like here, that it could ruin Ultraviolet's reputation even if the test was faulty. Like, they have to be super careful about this, even with their best of intentions. If they find out their test was wrong, they better come out and straight up say it, because everybody makes mistakes. I've made mistakes in testing stuff before. That's why I don't test sunscreens. I've made mistakes and had to come out and say, hey, I didn't test this the way that I should have. That was my bad. You can't take back what you've put out there, but you have to come out and say if you realize you've made a mistake. So hopefully that's what happens. All right. So the last one is this one. Okay. Sunscreen Q&A. Isn't this illegal? What happens next? Like, isn't it illegal to put on the market a sunscreen of SPF 50 when really it's a 4? So this question is assuming that Choice's test was accurate and correct. Our findings and the potential public health implications warrant further investigation by the TGA through a compliance review. We are asking the TGA to independently test the mean SPF for at least the sunscreens that failed our commission tests. Okay. The government didn't test them, I guess. I guess it was the government approved labs tested them. In the circumstances, we do not consider it acceptable to rely on the test results provided by suppliers. So they're saying, didn't he just say it's important to wear sunscreen no matter what? But now they're saying we do not consider it acceptable to rely on test results provided by suppliers. This is so contradictory. Sunscreen testing is expensive. Choice is a nonprofit organization that has undertaken this testing because we believe consumers should be able to trust what is written on sunscreen packaging. This is why we want to see the TGA do its own testing. I really hope they do. I hope they do. I hope the TGA does exactly what Choice asked them to do. I hope they do their own independent testing. I hope that they find that these sunscreens are fine. And I hope they publish it loudly and widely. And if there is something, because I'm clearly showing my bias here, if there is something wrong with these, I hope they find that as well. Because people do need to know the truth. I agree with Choice that people need to know the truth about what's going on with these sunscreens. But it sounds like Choice this is another thing, is that when you're a consumer reports company, it's like the jack of all trades thing, right? You can know a little bit about a lot of things, but it takes time and study and expertise to understand something so complex like sunscreen. It takes degrees and years of wrapping your brain around very complex topics in order to fully understand this. And that's, I think, what bothers me so much about the Choice part, is I feel like they know a little bit about a lot of things. They test all kinds of stuff. I think there's a test right now over their Instagram about pots and pans, right? They clearly don't have a deep understanding of any of these, I shouldn't say any of these, of this particular concept. They can't. They're Consumer Report. They're a nonprofit organization. They can't possibly have the same level of understanding that a science professional that does this for a living and has been trained on this for years and years and years, they cannot have the same level of knowledge, yet they are presenting themselves as if they do have that level of knowledge. And that's what bothers me so much, is that they are representing themselves as an authority on how this should be done when it seems like the way that they tested it is not standard. They're saying it's standard, but it's not because of the decanting, right? And then it traveling all the way to Germany. What if it heated up? What if it heated up in transit? What if it, who knows what kind of conditions it was in this decanted container on its way to Germany? There's just so many holes in this, and it's really disturbing. And I really do genuinely hope that the Australian government jumps in on this and does something and really does test it, because we need to know the truth. And not just for people in Australia, but people all over the world. Like, how reliable are these tests? Moya, is ultraviolet expensive? I normally get Garnier off Amazon. It is a higher end sunscreen. Yes, it is. It's closer to, like, it's not a drugstore. It's like a Sephora brand. So let me look it up, because they do sell it at Sephora in the US. Okay, so yeah, it's very expensive. So the one that they tested, yes, the mattifying one, it's $36. It's very expensive. They do have a facial sunscreen mist that's $30, another facial sunscreen that's $40. But that may be also because it's imported too. Water resistant face and body sunscreen is $30. Yeah, it's expensive. So that's the other thing, is you want to make sure that if you're spending $36 on a sunscreen, it better work. It better freaking work. Yeah, Where Daisy says, labeling a product as a sunscreen in Australia is extremely rigorous process. I trust our regulatory bodies a lot. Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's what the lady from Ultraviolet is saying, the founder and the owner and the CEO of Ultraviolet is saying, is that we did this testing the way we were supposed to do the testing, and everything came out good. Something is going on with what you're doing. But they put it out so widely, and that's the biggest concern. Like how I was saying on my TikTok, there's so many people saying, but ultraviolet is only an SPF 4. And that video on my TikTok has like 70 some thousand views. The video that I did talking about what we're talking about today in live chat has like 1,200 views. It's just not getting as widely out there. And that's just, my one little corner. And I have less than 4,000 followers over on TikTok. So I have a very small audience over there. So I don't know who else. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that are talking about it, but it seems like the follow-up isn't, and this is the way it always is, the follow-up doesn't get as much press as the initial information. And that's why it's so important to be responsible and try so hard to get it right the first time. Yeah, Tish says they need to bring in subject matter experts to help with these experiments. Oh, 100%. Well, it sounds like they tried. I don't know, man. Something went wrong. I don't know. Yeah, Stormy Weather says the Violet is too much of an outlier for me to trust these results without knowing more. Yeah, exactly. And I think we're all kind of on the same page here, is that we just need we need more information. And I really do hope that the Australian government follows up on it. Thank you, Betania. I appreciate the super chat. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Lady Skills Skit says, I will take white cast all day as long as I'm protected and I'm Black and I don't care. Better safe than sorry. Yeah. I mean, the thing is from what my understanding is, and again, I'm not a sunscreen expert, that the chemical sunscreens that don't leave a white cast are just as effective as the mineral sunscreens. It's the reason why mineral sunscreens are pushed so much is because of the fear over the, okay, let me be very careful in my wording. So like the FDA right now is testing a lot of those mineral sunscreen filters and seeing if there is, the way that they're absorbed into the blood and like all of these things that different tests are finding. They're making sure that it's safe. So they're going through a process where they have found that the mineral sunscreens, the ones that leave a white cast, that those are good. You're solid there. But the chemical sunscreen filters haven't been tested as regularly in the US. They've been tested worldwide. They've been tested in the EU. They've been tested all over the world and been very rigorous, but they haven't been tested in the US. So that is causing a lot of US customers to side eye the chemical sunscreen filters, even though they have been widely accepted around the world. That's my understanding of it. Also, there was the whole thing about reef safe, where the mineral sunscreens were seen as reef safe, protecting coral reefs, and the chemical sunscreen filters were seen as not reef safe. But what they found was that the test that they did for that, and I remember reading about this when I was an elementary school teacher in 2015 and I was teaching reading. There was a story about this, and they were saying how the way that they tested them, they basically had like a vat of coral, right? And they grew this coral in a base giant fish tank-ish kind of thing. And then they put sunscreen in the fish tank. And then they said that it was bad for the coral, because in the fish tank, it was bad for the coral. But you're not what it didn't account for is the parts per million of sunscreen in an ocean, right? So that's where that came into play, and why countries started banning and saying you had to wear reef safe sunscreen was because of these tests, but it wasn't done in an environment that was actually real to real life. So if you think about it from real life, yeah, like maybe if you had if you dumped a bunch of sunscreen by the coral reefs, then maybe, but then you had people like off the shore of Maryland talking about coral reefs. Like we don't have coral reefs, man. We don't need reef safe sunscreen at Ocean City, Maryland. There's no coral, man. We don't have coral. It's not getting to the coral. Our water is brown. Our water isn't even blue, it's brown. So it's like anyway. My point is that the mineral sunscreens, yes, they are still testing them to make sure that we're good. But if I had deeper skin tone, I would wear chemical sunscreen. There's no way you would catch me with the mineral sunscreen. I wear chemical sunscreens. The Fenty sunscreen is my favorite. That's what I wear all the time. The Fenty moisturizer. It smells really good. It feels good. There's no white cast. It's a beautiful sunscreen. That's what I use on my face. I even use it on my arms. Like, I love that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with that. All right. Oh, thank you, Botania. Interesting how this happened after they responded to Primally Pure's billboard. Sorry for the double first super chat. Oh, no, thank you. That's so nice of you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, it is interesting, the timing, isn't it? I mean, clearly there isn't a connection, because the owner of Ultraviolet said that this started happening back in March, and they didn't criticize Primally Pure until, a few weeks ago. So I don't think there's any kind of connection, but it is interesting, the timing, isn't it? It is really interesting. All right, I got to go, because it is time for it's time for me to go celebrate Father's Day with my husband. So I'm going to go. I hope that you had a good week. I hope you have a good week next week. I am going to be working my little tuchus off on my Trish Skin video, Trisha Paytas Skincare. It is a wild story. I can't wait for you to see it. It's a deep dive. It is a traditional Jen Love deep dive that is going to be full of twists and turns, and I think you're going to absolutely find the story incredibly fascinating. So please watch it when it comes out, because I think you're going to absolutely love it. And I'm going to hopefully have that up for you on Friday. That's the goal. And yeah, regular live chat next week. The next time we have any disruption is going to be in mid-July, is the next time we have any disruption in anything. So for now, we're just going to keep on rolling. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.